I drove field cuts through my neighborhood.
All right, this is our first spaces that I'm a host of. So bear with us as we get everything set up.
Yeah, I'm going to need to turn my computer off. This is cell phone only.
Yeah. This will be on the cell phone, and then we're streaming to YouTube and Rumble and Odysee also, but we're streaming the actual from Twitter Spaces.
I'm going to see if I shut my computer off, if I can actually get my headphones to work.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. How are you, Ricky? How's your mic? Is it good?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me.
Yep, I hear you. I'm so glad we were able to put this together in a short period of time.
Yeah, it's an important topic, and I'm sure people will start to chill in. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to really fill up the room, so don't worry. There will definitely be more than 6 people here.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, we got people over on YouTube watching over there too. Some people can't they don't use Twitter, or they don't have access to it, and so I think it's important to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity to hear what's going on. They can hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm having cat problems.
Cat problems. Is that what he said?
Yeah, the little one is tucked in and is right on my cell phone. So.
Oh, of course.
All right, I'm telling everybody it's me in the chat.
Well, if I can type in this chat too.
Yeah, you can.
Is it up to Ruffle?
Should be.
Oh.
So Snork, whenever you are ready, we can get started, I guess.
All right, I was just taking one more try. Got my computer off. I got my headphones on. I was going to see if I might be able to get on the headphones so I could hear what's going on easier. We might as well just go. I'm not able to get my headphones going.
Okay. So I maybe we should give, because we might have new listeners that don't know who you are. If you can give a little bit of background and why why you can speak on this matter that is that happened in East Palestine, Ohio.
I used to design and support computer factories. And part of my master's degree, I took a lot of courses on disasters and industrial toxicology and things that could go wrong with factories. And also, I grew up in a railroad family.
That's what makes you like my perfect go-to guy for this. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your night, to do this. I know you're very busy, and you also are a teacher, and so I just want you to know it's really, really appreciated, because I don't want the people that have been affected by this train derailment and all those toxic chemicals to be looked over. I want them to make sure that we keep this information out there, and we keep it going, because there cannot be enough coverage of this. There can't be. These people are suffering. So I think one of the biggest questions that I have is, now that this has happened, and so maybe we should go into a little bit of go over what we do know up at this point. What do we know from the time that it happened on February 3rd up until now? The train derailed, chemicals were released, and they did a controlled burn. And there's been a lot of questions about the controlled burn. And I think that maybe we should give a little bit of clarification on, the procedure of that, and if that is the normal EPA procedure to go ahead and do a controlled release like that.
That the letting it release was the way that was considered the best. It was actually written in the documents that they had for how to handle it in the event of a leak. They were not supposed to try to stop the leak, and they needed to do everything possible to get the pressure out of the tanks. The questions that I have are, um, or what was in the tanks of the other materials that weren't considered hazardous. Because once the fire started, the materials that were in the other tanks no longer can be considered to be exactly what they were. As they're under fire, as they're being sprayed with other chemicals, as they went under a large amount of heat, the constant or what was in the other tanks might have changed. So, like if you burn sugar, you get an awful bad smell. So, what happens with what was in the other tanks? Well, what might have been considered um, inert material might not have been inert after the fire.
That's a really good point because yeah, like you're changing the chemical compounds of things when you are burning it or you're processing it in a certain way or you're exposing it to new things. Absolutely.
Also, there might have been over 100 years of other toxic materials that had drained into the railroad bed, and we don't know what the status of those getting heated up was. One of them would be creosote.
And so what is like the biggest like what is the biggest obstacle or hazard for the people now that are there that are not getting the assistance that they need? Like they're saying it's not a natural disaster, so FEMA's saying no. I haven't seen coverage of Red Cross being there or any kind of disaster relief, or even the company showing up to the town hall meetings. They're not showing up anymore and they're trying to pay people off. I mean, this is such a scary situation to be in. Like, I personally was like, I don't know what I would do if that happened.
Well,
Like I'm
just
far from tracks. It could happen to any of us.
yeah, just the fact that they're in that town. Let's say you were just getting ready to move. Good luck trying to sell a house there now. You basically might have lost the complete value of your house. Um, Jobs, uh, other companies that moving places for jobs might not want to be there. So who knows what's going on in the area just from the after effects of this. And that could be over 10 years from now.
It's crazy because like the long-term effects of this are just they're not going to be known, and especially with so much of it being covered up too. And that's what's like just more alarming to me is the fact that they are covering it up. They're making it like they're coming back and saying the air and the water quality is fine, but then you see all these videos of people like throwing stones into the creek or the water out there, and all this oil is bubbling up and bubbling up from the bottom because I guess is that where it sinks? It's the bottom. Is that like typical of these chemicals that were released?
All chemicals are different. A lot of oils tend to go on the surface. So, it depends on what the material is. And I don't have an inventory of everything that fell out there. So, like if you take some regular car oil and put it out on on the on the stream, it's going to float on the surface. So oil that drips is going to have different constitution. I couldn't make a guess on that. But yeah, who knows what was burned beside and whatever vapors went in the air. And we know that a large number of objects were particles floated up into the air and probably at least 20 to 30 miles away have different chemicals were deposited. We don't know what that costs. And if the company were to say that there was things, if there was another instance that happened, they might leave themselves open that if the one area gets declared a natural disaster, that others will too. So it might be that they don't want to declare it a national disaster so that they don't have to declare other incidents natural disasters.
Well, because I mean, even right now, as we're as we're here, there are places. There's been a train. They said 1,000, I believe, train derailments last year, like alone. Like that is a normal number of train derailments, and it's absolutely astronomical that much happens. Uh, at the same time. And then also, there's fires like burning at different factories, like all over the place right now. There's all this like chemical stuff that is being burned and put off into the atmosphere, and it's alarming that this isn't a bigger deal than it is. I mean, it's getting news and it is getting mainstream attention, but I feel like there's not enough attention on this. Like they want to put the climate disaster on the individual person and be like, if you drive a gasoline vehicle, you're the cause and you're the problem. But yet these companies are doing this, and there's long-term lasting effects that are happening and that people are getting sick from, and it's just completely looked over.
Yeah, and it's not just here. Some of these really bad fires and whatever, they could be happening in other countries and still have the particles drop here.
How now, speaking of like the particles, like, so those chemicals that went up in the air, and they're talking about, like, the air quality's fine, and it's still, they're like, we talked about this when I had you on my show to do a stream. We talked about how they're gonna say, oh well, the dilution is, what I mean, that's good, it's being diluted, it's being watered down, and that makes it like less of a contaminant as a solution. And we talked about like why that's not really a solution, but that's what the official narrative is going to be. And
Also, that tends to be the average dilution. You've been in rainstorms where it seems like you're hardly getting anything and the person beside you is getting drenched. And that might be the same thing. There might be just an air column that has a really high concentration, and just a little bit away, it might be no concentration at all. Or another way to put it, if um, 10 unemployed people are in a bar with Bill Gates, the average income is, or average net worth is, everybody's a billionaire.
yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So what do you think is like going to be the biggest thing for people like going forward that are in this situation like right now? What can these people do? Is there anything that is there anything that they can do to like lessen their exposure to this? I mean, there's people that are like, they're saying that they've got rashes on their faces. They're having breathing problems. I'm getting reports that around the hospitals in the area that people are, they're filling up in the hospitals, and we know we live in a country without a universal healthcare system. So there's probably a lot of people that are not going and getting care right now.
And not a lot of people can afford to get up and just leave. Somebody might say, "Hey, we can just leave, get in the car and go." Some people don't have the gas to even go to the nearest community, uh, and whatever they have in their car, they might not be able to take very much with them. So basically, if they leave, they lose everything. That's a big thing to put on people. Uh, where are you going to go when you do move? How are you going to have any money to actually be able to do anything once you move? Very few people can just leave their house, go to another place, either rent or buy another house, and immediately take off living there. Most people don't even have the money to buy a new bed. Most people don't have the money to buy a new couch. And just losing your kitchen plates and stuff, it can be a major cost that people don't have to cover. So I really worry about what options people have. And some of these cases where there's a major fire of unknown materials, you really don't have much choice other than to leave. And if you don't have the choice to leave, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, I mean, they say that most people are, like a paycheck away from, having an emergency, something happens, you're like one paycheck away. So what happens when something is like completely out of your control like this? I mean, I don't know what people are expected to do. And like,
Yep.
why do we
Right now, it's not so much that people are a paycheck away from a disaster. Most people are a paycheck away from being able to just get their head above water. So there are many people have got bills where they've been using their credit cards. They've been using everything they have. It's not that they don't have money for an emergency. They don't have money to get by right now.
we have somebody that Kitty, if you had a question or a comment, if you wanted to share, then you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, you
Okay,
sound good.
perfect. Hey, so I just I've been kind of watching this thing from afar. I've been busy with work and all this kind of stuff. Just did a 6-hour drive up here to the mountains with the kids. Hence me asking if you guys can hear me. But when you look at the overall picture of like what's gone over like on like the last 3 years, I'm wondering if this is like, so without diving too much into it, but like I'm beginning to wonder, like, when you're looking at the amount of news coverage and with these accidents and stuff like that, and also how horrific they are, that this isn't able to pad whatever the narrative is on the next step to over the last thing, like the vaccines or something like that. And like I was saying, I've been watching this from afar, but just looking at a big picture, I just wanted to throw that out there as just a general concept because it crossed my mind today when I was like listening to I think No Agenda yesterday. I was listening to the No Agenda podcast. And it kind of like, when they were going through it all, I was listening to the news coverage, the way it's being framed and stuff like that, it seems an easy way to pass whatever I think is going to be coming our way as death going through the roof, stuff like that. And I kind of view it the same way with cigarettes, like a way to
You're breaking up
but
like a
like
little bit.
what's the,
You're breaking up like a little bit. You started breaking up there and getting electronic.
oh, sorry. Yeah, it's getting all robotic. Yeah, no, but whole concept, like I've always thought like cigarettes was like an easy scapegoat for like the paper, whatever environmental stuff they're doing to people that are causing cancers. They're like, oh, have you ever had like a cigarette? They're like, yeah. They're like, yeah, well, that's it. And be able to cut the amount of cancers. And I wonder with all the information that's coming out with the vaccines and stuff like that, if this isn't obviously intentional for various reasons. I mean, multitude of reasons. When you look at the overarching agenda of the globalists, to be also paper over, the excess deaths that are now going through the roof. I mean, currently right now they're trying to use long COVID stuff like that to say like, oh, this causing heart attacks, but like this seems like it's so large and so impactful on the environment. Like what is going on with all these like man-made disasters with these rails and oil plants, stuff like that, and the way that the media is constantly projecting it, because this stuff happens, a lot of it does happen quite often, but like now the way that there's this large focus on it, and in addition to how actually bad it really is. I mean, that whole Ohio incident was like horrific. But yeah, I mean, these guys are on it. It seems to me, just from the globalist agenda standpoint and like how controlled our reality is, it seems like they're just kind of escalating stuff to paper over other stuff. So I just want to throw that idea out there for you guys.
Well, I would see this, as you're describing a white rabbit, a magician's rabbit, where you're trying to bring out one thing to draw news away from something you don't want to hear. But realistically, a lot of heavy money is behind the railroads having a good reputation. They do want a lot of things. Petroleum industry and other industries do not want this type of thing out there. I don't think we'd even be seeing all the stuff with the Chinese balloons or UFOs if they weren't trying to draw something away from this issue. Usually, anytime I see reports of UFOs, I usually see that as any kind of white rabbit trying to get something away from other news that's touchy for politicians. And but I do agree that every time anything happens, I'm always thinking that is this in someone's advantage to try to get news away from some other object?
And you're right, and that's the hard part about like recognizing the fact that like our reality is so managed that like you do fall into those traps where it's like, well, this is just to distract from this, and you're like, no, like there's like twofold aspects of this entire thing. Like they're basically like, to me, it seems like an attack on the Amish. My personal opinion. There's and
I've got you breaking up so bad I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, really,
And then
really
I heard
bad.
something about Amish.
Yeah, we heard Amish.
yeah, so like the idea that like this is an attack on the Amish people is what I tend to think. Like the fact that like the train broke up or had the accident, but then they went in there and they blew it up in order to get the railroads going again is the narrative, quote unquote. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, actually, if they hadn't drilled it up, the explosion would have been incredible. Is it incredible the right way to? Not something we would want to talk about.
So did they? Like I was saying, like I haven't really followed it too closely. So like, like I saw the narrative at one point was that they blew it up. What is that true or
Well,
not?
they purposely breached a few of the trains that were containing a chemical that they needed not to let get too hot, and that they needed not to keep pressure. So if they had gone to pressure, they would have turned into very, very strong bombs. And the idea was get it out, let it burn, get that out of the environment into a different form as quickly as possible. And when I looked over the materials on the other show the other night, I pretty much agreed that they should have done that. In fact, the people that breached them was a pretty brave thing for those first responders to do.
So it
And
sounds like almost like a catch-22. Regardless, like either way, it's kind of like, I mean, like one situation's way worse. It's just the lesser of two evils.
yeah, it was like I said, it was a bad thing. Would have been way worse if they had
Right.
not breached them. And I think we just need many discussions at the way we're doing things, and maybe some other show will talk about those. I'm not sure how much time we have.
Right on. Well, I just want to throw that out there. Like I was telling you, like I'm up here in the mountain and just saw Ricky was in here, so I figured I'd chime in. And just that thought had crossed my mind yesterday, so I throw that just out there of like, the way how managed everything is. When I see this kind of stuff, and it's so over the top that like, I don't know, it just makes me question what if there's other purposes behind this. So, anyways, much love. Thank you guys for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kit. Yeah, I feel you too. I know Snork said that, a lot of these industries really rely on the railroad and they really want it to have a good reputation. But at the same time, we're seeing so many derailments. Most of them are not dramatic like this one. Most of them are like, oops, something slipped off, put it back on, not a big deal, move on. But this one was bad. And we see rails in disrepair across the country. Like it's not really, I mean, it has gone down. Derailments have gone down since like 2011, but I don't see it really getting better past this right now, because it doesn't really seem like anyone cares about the rails. They're in disrepair. It's obvious. No one's even discussing it. And when the railroad workers were on strike last year, like the government took a crap on them, like a big dump on them. And this is like, if you want things to get from point A to point B, and you're taking a crap on those workers that are the only way those things are going to get from point A to point B, I don't know what you're thinking, to be honest. If you really want the image of this industry to be squeaky clean, you're not doing the right thing. So I have a problem with that idea. So it does make me question: is this an intentional event? And if so, who benefits? I do question that.
Yeah,
Or
I was trying to send out a video earlier. Then I realized that this is an audio show. But I was looking at some clips of what state that the local railroads are throughout Ohio, and there was one really bad one that was on TikTok, showing one train going through that I couldn't believe that track hadn't been shut down. And usually, if a train derails and loses some fuel, that's usually the main part of what they lose is some fuel. They put it back on the road, patch it up, and get it going. You don't even see that on the news. So very few of the derailments hit a scale that makes it the news. But the issue is when one does, it doesn't take more than a few cars of something burning, something toxic, in order for it to be very severe. 100,000 gallons of diesel fuel uh, lost onto the ground is actually considered an environmental disaster, and uh, that isn't very many gallons. It really isn't. So if it's 8 pounds per gallon, the number of gallons drops down really quickly. And the tanks that are on the sides of the train, only a few thousand gallons. So it's again, it takes a lot to get a news crew out, and to get a news crew out, it also has to be a story that doesn't uh, um, basically hurt any of the advertisers for that news outlet. I'm not saying they all will not avoid anything, but when cash is involved, a lot of stories get squelched.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I covered last night on my show. I talked about how Vanguard and BlackRock are, like they're like these big investment firms, and they also have ties to this railroad company. So like and they own 90, and BlackRock alone like has control over 90% plus of the media. So it's when all these these powers that be have control over all these major things and all of our major information over what gets out to us, whether or not something is called a disaster or not, uh, they're always going to do it to their benefit. They don't have any reason to do it to our benefit, because we're not the ones paying them, and that's awful. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way that it is. If anybody wants to speak or has any questions or anything like that, you can just request to be a speaker, and we'll get you up here if you have anything you want to say.
Also, I can't see any of the chats, so if they're asking me any questions, I wouldn't know.
Okay, I'll look and see what's on. If there's anything over on the YouTube or anything like that. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Flag me or whatever on it if you're on one of the social medias asking. Um, I mean, I'm really concerned about the health of these people. I really am. I'm really concerned about what's going to happen in the meantime, because like you were saying before, you know, people can't just up and leave. Like, and there's people that have like their entire lives. Imagine your entire life being just completely, you're suddenly in a toxic disaster zone, and like you're getting told one thing, and then another thing is completely happening, and being without health care on top of that, like it's got to be so overwhelming. I don't know how these people are holding up at this point, but I'm really concerned about them.
Yeah, I find it wrong that given the area basically so economically devastated, where people still have to pay their bills, but they've suddenly, probably almost everybody in town, lost their income. Uh, I'm not sure if that's true, but probably a large number of them did. Or if it's not safe to work yet, uh, for them to even go on to not have some kind of federal assistance to live on, or to not even have federal assistance to put a hold on the bills that they owe, something like that. I don't see any national thing, and I don't really see any national organization that's actually set up to help people. Uh, even the ones that we think we have, like FEMA, really um, drop the ball in a case like this. And this is every day. We're getting tornadoes several times a week where communities are also getting devastated, and we're not seeing aid actually get delivered to them appropriately in the amount of time they need to reduce the disruption of life. Um, sorry.
It's actually worse than that sometimes. Like if you look at Hurricane Harvey, I believe, in Texas, in order for you to get aid, that you had to sign that you wouldn't boycott Israel, which was the wildest thing I've ever heard. But you can go look up the articles. And so they even like when a disaster happen, they will weaponize that for political gains by
Well,
exploiting
that's
the
true
aid.
here too. I'm in Iowa. We also have to uh, have all kinds of things that we're not allowed to uh, disagree with Israel in any way.
That's just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It really is. Like when you realize, like you're like, oh, like I remember when the article came out, reading it during Harvey, and they're like, oh yeah, like you can get aid, but in order to do it, you have to like pledge you're not going to like boycott Israel. I'm like, like what is coming from Israel that people are going to boycott from? Like the only thing I know is like lasers and leveling, like levels for like concrete and stuff like that. Those are the only products I know that are coming from Israel that like I could personally boycott. Besides that, like I'm not sure what their major exports are. I never really looked either. I probably should. But it just blew my mind. It just seemed like such a weird thing to throw in there.
They also make that pop that make your own CO2 to make your own pop. I forgot the name of the brand.
Oh, SodaStream.
SodaStream, yeah.
They do that? I didn't know
And
that.
That's
they
what
also make weapon systems, and they train people in law enforcement.
Yeah, sure. Oh no, I know. But like how am I going to boycott that? Like
Yeah. Well, like I said, to work here, we cannot. So it's not where all of our contracts have to say we cannot boycott Israel.
yeah, and that I mean just from like a military like I'm not sure what your background is, I'm sorry. But like
I'm a
I would
teacher.
imagine. Oh, you're a teacher.
Teachers
Jesus Christ.
cannot.
I thought maybe you were like the engineer and like the military, like working for like Raytheon or something. But Jesus Christ, a teacher.
I used to be an engineer, and many of my students do go to Raytheon.
Well, that's an impressive statement. So that you should be proud. Actually, kind of oddly proud of that. Like that's impressive.
I will say one thing Israel also has is a lot of our big tech R&D, like Qualcomm, Intel, Microsoft. They all have R&D offices over in Israel. So low key, there's a lot of tech in Israel that we don't really hear much about. And I don't know if they have any back doors or anything like that. But we know that the contracts that the government has are with like Microsoft and Amazon. So someone's got the back door to the whole United States government, I bet. Just saying.
Yeah. You wouldn't expect something that the NRO or the other organizations like that are going to use to actually be anywhere that's easily accessible. And a place like Israel would be a great place to protect them from being on the open.
But we've had a weird relationship with Israel for a very long time. There's something very strange about Israel. and our relationship with Israel and other countries' relationship with Israel. I really want to know what Israel's purpose is in like this new, let's call it the New World Order, whatever this, this Great Reset, whatever we want to call this Fourth Industrial Revolution. They're kind of like the centerpiece or a centerpiece of the Belt and Road Initiative, or at least one part of it. So I don't know. I don't know what the end game with Israel is, but it's very strange to me.
Getting back to like the healthcare aspect of it, Ricky, you had shared yesterday some information that I thought was absolutely alarming. Do you want to share some of that, what you had found with that article?
Sure. So if you're on Twitter Spaces right now, I know some people are watching via Rumble, YouTube, Odysee, etc. But if you're on Twitter Spaces, down in the bottom right corner, there's a little bubble. You can click that. I posted some links to some different tweets and articles and whatnot. So there is precedent for an event like this happening. I think like 40 years ago in Missouri, in a small town in Missouri, there was a whole dioxin incident where they used dioxin in some kind of chemical mixture for the roads there. And they had a big flood. I guess a big storm came in and it stirred up all these chemicals and the aerosolized, and the chemicals were in the air, and a bunch of kids got sick, some people got sick, and the government literally moved everyone out of this town. They set them up in a new place. So they literally moved all these people, paid for it all, and gave them a new place to live. And that whole town was bought out by the government. So there is precedent for something like this. And I don't think we're seeing anything like that at all right now, which is very interesting to me.
Even then, I would expect the maximum payout to be 75% of the value of your home. And usually people I knew that have fought, like when Chicago added an extra interstate section, they public domained a bunch of land. They were all offered 75% minus any fees. So if the person actually tried to do a lawsuit to prevent it from going through, the people that did the lawsuit actually ended up paying more. So they got reimbursed less after all the stuff was settled. So I knew one person that ended up with like 50% of his land value was erased. And the new place that he had to buy was, he couldn't buy as much a place.
That's horrible. But it's kind of like, how the government will seize your land if they want to like build a highway or a rail through it. And you usually don't win in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's going to be different for each locality. But in the part of Illinois, it was 75% was the max payout.
The interesting thing to watch too is how is the response like once they do respond, because like when you look at events like Katrina or something like that, there's a great documentary that's worth watching if you can find it. It's called something of Last Resort. I'll see if I can find it. I'll post it down in the purple comment section. But anyways, if you look at like what they did with Katrina, like they basically ran like a martial law kind of like situation. It'll be interesting to see how the government treats this, because like they'll run different operations in light of stuff like this. It almost goes back to, like Build Back Better, the mantra that you see like that people like associate with the World Economic Forum. If you actually look into Build Back Better, it was actually a proposal by Bill Clinton to exploit any disaster to further the UN agenda. And so when he wrote this in 2006, if you just search my Twitter handle and just write like BBB or Bill Clinton 2006, you'll find the source document. And so I'm just saying, just like in light of that, like it's always worth, like when you see these kind of disasters, to like analyze how they're exploiting it to further like whatever agenda they are, or even to use it for like exercises, or for furthering like training and stuff like that. And it's normally not great. It's normally very authoritarian in the way they go about it. Like even with how FEMA reacted with Katrina, if you look at like I think they like put everyone in like these basically trailers at one point that were like full of asbestos and stuff like that. Like it's always gross the way they go about it, and it's like always the worst way you could ever handle anything. So just throw
Well,
that
with
out
the
there.
trailers, it was actually the glue.
That was it.
They built the trailers really quick. They used a quick drying glue, and it basically off-gassed a toxic substance. This is common. So the way it works, often I don't trust how the vendors are chosen. It might be family members of Speaker of the House or whatever that actually gets the deal. They might subcontract to somebody else after they take, something like a 5% broker fee. We usually don't hear about that. We usually don't hear about like when a large candidate comes to town, they often get paid a fee as a part of the money that is raised. They get a fee, and people don't realize that they're getting that as income.
Well,
And
exactly. You're 100% right, and in that sense, like particularly like, and this earlier, like make the idea of like maybe there's this like normally there's like when events happen, there's always multiple facets of like how people are exploiting it. So like I was bringing up like one aspect of it, but there's like multitudes of like different versions of how they're going to be able to exploit this for further gains. And like people will talk about one aspect, and you'll bring up another one. They're like, well, no, I'm just talking about. You're like, no, I agree. It's like there's this other aspect, and maybe there's 12 others. Exactly what you're saying. Like, they might have family members that are built into some industry, and they're going to try to use some substance that's going to be even more horrific, but like just because there's money flowing, these people are going to do what they do, which is capitalize, I guess.
Ricky, did you want to go into a little bit more about the health aspect of it? What they're trying to implement there in East Palestine?
I don't know what they're trying to do health wise. It seems like a shit show. To be frank, I know the Red Cross showed up apparently, even though we know that like a lot of the money that you donate to the Red Cross doesn't actually go to aid at all. And FEMA seemed to be dragging their feet. I don't know if they're too busy planting false flags with DHS or whatever they do. But
they said it wasn't a natural disaster. Like that was their excuse to not send FEMA in. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean it's technically a man-made disaster, I suppose. But why does FEMA have all these caveats? I think that's pretty stupid. And anyways, like the president of the United States can, draw up an EO real quick, executive order, bam, done. There is executive powers where you can just take care of it. You can literally trigger money. Congress can vote on it real quick. It's easy. It's really like they do it for all kinds of. They give money to Ukraine like super fast when they need it or want it or need it for their political whatever, their politics. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with those people. They are paying people to silence them. It's a whole mess. I don't know. I do believe that there's a lot of people that are going to try to exploit this event. If it wasn't intentional, they're going to use it as if they're guilty. Anyways, I think a lot of these health issues that you see from the burning of vinyl chloride, a lot of them align with some of the adverse events from these vaccines. So if people, get a shot and they complain to their doctor, oh my God, I have this lung injury. Oh, you must have breathed in that bad air from that train wreck. It is an excuse. It probably will be used. They already use every excuse under the sun to sweep injuries under the rug. So I do believe that will be used. And not to get too conspiratorial on this topic, but the CDC literally changed their page for vinyl chloride like 11 days before the wreck, which was so weird. And a lot of the hazardous, warnings that were on the website like kind of went away, which I thought was very strange. It was very specific about the dangers of vinyl chloride, and that just kind of got wiped from the website. I don't know. I don't know if that means anything. And then people are talking about the Netflix film White Noise starring Adam Driver and Don Cheadle, where they actually used some extras from that East Palestine area, and there is a train wreck depicted in that film, and that was just released December of last year.
And they're also, I saw advertisements for they're looking for actors in that same area.
Right. I mean, I again, it seems. Go ahead.
It's odd, it really is. It makes you go, what? Like I'm just gonna file that over here and like keep that. I'm gonna put a pin in that because I don't know if that's gonna be something that's really gonna be relevant or not, but I can't ignore it. Like it's just like I can't ignore that.
Sometimes when I see like way too many coincidences, I'm like, is that even feasible? Is that even possible? And I see so many already with this, and we're just getting started, right? On top of that, in late January, East Palestine announced a partnership with My ID, which is a wearable with a QR code on it that has all of your medical information. And this kind of goes hand in hand with like vaccine passports and universal digital identity, and eventually microchips and whatever else. They want to implement this wearable thing with your QR code that has your medical history on it, which to me is absurd, but they were just releasing it in early February. They announced it in late January, saying they were implementing it in just a couple of weeks, which would have put it just before the train wreck. So I'm sitting here wondering, like, man, that's a lot of coincidences in a small town of only a few thousand people. I mean, maybe they're all coincidences. It's very possible.
They're piling up. You know what I mean? We got a lot of pins and a lot of things going, whoa, wait a minute. Like, really? Are we somehow manifesting these things to come to light? Because, wow. I mean, it just seems like it's all part of this agenda that we talk about a lot.
Thanks, biometric data.
Applejack, did you want to, you have your hand up. Do you want to talk on anything?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up about the precedent that's actually set, because we're looking at a situation in East Palestine, which everybody knows is close to me, where they're saying they're having so-called tests in the water and saying everything is fine and everything, but we've seen this incident happen before in 2012 at a much smaller scale in New Jersey. I believe the name of the town was Paulsboro, New Jersey, where 26,000 gallons of vinyl chloride was burnt up, which is probably it's one canister, which is probably about the size of 1/4 maybe of what happened in East Palestine, New Jersey, and that has had an effect economically and health-wise in Paulsboro, New Jersey, for generations. We know that we've had documented at least 7 people who have been treated for chemical inhalation that have had a huge uptick in cancer cells that have happened in their lungs, in their brain, in their stomach. It's been a serious problem that's been going on, and it's still happening to this day. And like they've been saying that it's been going on for it's possible to go on for generations. And that's a situation where it's like okay, you have all these beliefs that people are saying that everything is healthy, the water's fine, but what happened in New Jersey in 2012, I believe it was in November, was at a wicked smaller scale. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like looking at this like, what else are they not telling us? You know, because there's been other chemicals that's been with the crash in East Palestine, whereas what had happened in Paulsboro, New Jersey, was only vinyl chloride, and it was with a train derailment, and it's still affecting them to this day.
Yeah, I mean, I think East Palestine is screwed for a very long time. I feel like the way they're covering it in the news is like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like the water's fine, the air's fine. Like, you know, you left for a few days, now you can come back. Let's, you know, move on with your life. And I think that's a really poor way of reporting this, especially when there's precedent already. How they cleared out an entire town, they moved an entire town in Missouri. They have issues to this day, over a decade later in New Jersey. Like, this is not gonna I mean, we're gonna see a lot of sick people, and there's gonna be no fish. There's no the whole, like, it's an ecological disaster. You know, the whole Mother Nature is completely disrupted in that area. And for farmers, what does that mean? Is their food going to be good to eat?
On like what eats the fish and what drinks the water. You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, like all the fish are dying, we're just removing them, as if that's like some kind of a solution. And like there's no animals around that drink that water. There's no people's pets that are gonna, like, you know what I mean? If you live in that area near the creek, and your dog, you have to make sure your dog doesn't go near the creek. Like they can't drink the water. You know, what about the wildlife, the birds? Like how long before it starts affecting all of them? I mean, I've seen videos, I can't verify them, but I've seen videos of like all these birds that are dead now too in the area. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like it's gonna happen. It's probably gonna, like, you know, right now we see the big cause of everything, but we're not seeing all the effects. We're not even remotely seeing the tip of the iceberg on how many, you know, animals and how the people are going to be affected. I mean, this is going to go down to the bugs, the plants, the everything. Like, are people going to be able to grow anything there? Like, what about the people that have farm animals in that area?
Well, right now, we don't even know what the content would be of the dew on blades of grass. So you're talking rivers and streams, and realistically, most of the plume would have just landed on plants in the area. Trees, well, the trees don't have leaves on them. But what happens as rains come over the bark, it comes down and it gets onto the grass. So there's a distribution far worse than just the streams, and that could take 2 or 3 years for the stuff to be transferred from people's roof drains down to the ground and out to the streams.
And
not only that, I'm sorry.
To clean it up, even, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people showing it like it's on their cars and they're touching it with their hands. But I mean, like, what should people be doing? You know, like there's not even, like, I'm not even hearing like any protocol, like, you know, use this, or we're gonna have a team come in and clean things up. Like, do people even know if the air within their houses are clean? Because I know that, I guess there was some reporting where there was a lady that was very, very close to it, and the train company themselves actually went in and said, no, you cannot return to your home, like, at all. We're relocating you. But they're keeping these things very hush hush, and they're not like doing it for everybody.
Well, in the local news that I've seen here, they're saying that we don't even need masks, which doesn't make any sense, because we had this whole situation with coronavirus that has a 99% survival rate. But it's a little bit even worse, and especially with the politics that's going on. Whereas you're speaking about the company that has to deal with it, Norfolk Southern, where they've only donated $25,000 for displacement to anybody that has been displaced. And there is a homeless population that's there that they're not even looking at. And $25,000 isn't really going to displace many people. Not only that, we also, like, there's this huge narrative where they're trying to sit there and say, well, Trump deregulated, but we're also looking at what the Biden administration is doing, and they're instructing their DOJ that to block any possibility of a lawsuit coming from Governor Mike DeWine, who's been speaking about trying to hold Norfolk Southern accountable. Not only that, we've been also having a situation where they're trying to say that Norfolk County cannot be held accountable in any form, even though that they've been on record paying off, lobbying hard to make sure that no safety measures are taken for any of their trains and any of their railway workers, which is a huge situation. It's like there's a Biden in one when he's speaking in a press conference towards everybody is vowing to hold somebody accountable, but then when he turns around on closed doors, he's telling his DOJ to ensure that no lawsuits come across Norfolk Southern, who is the company that is in control of the railways and of the chemicals that were being transported. So there's a lot of situations that have to do with it, and that's why a lot of people, especially around here, are talking about that this is a cover-up. You know, I understand that DeWine hasn't started an emergency here, but he's also been working with the Biden administration, and there's reports that Biden has been telling him not to. So there's a lot of ups and downs that's going on, and there's a lot of money in play with the politicians that are fighting against trying to assist East Palestine and any city that's living in Columbiana County, which is the county of East Palestine, of Boardman, of Jukaswalk, of a lot of the cities that are around in that area. And there's people in PA that are also not being able to get any assistance with the wind blowing that way and blowing chemicals there that way, and all the water going downstream towards PA, like Pittsburgh.
Wow. I do see investigative journalist Jeremy Lafredo from Rebel News here. Jeremy, if you want to talk about this, Jeremy's been on the ground in East Palestine, so he's got some insight. If you don't follow him, you should probably do that. He's got some great updates coming from the source.
Yeah, I invite him to speak if he wants.
Me too.
Sorry for both bombarding you. This is such an important topic, and I don't think that this can get enough. There cannot be enough coverage of this. I mean, we cannot let these people down. We can't just let like these corporations and all these people in power just completely wipe out towns this way. Like we have to stand up, and we have to keep speaking up for these people. I know the aftermath that is coming, and I don't know that there's anything that we can do besides putting pressure on them.
Yeah, and I do want to give a little shameless plug for the people with Vin and Sori's podcast, and also some other people that are trying to work with me to try and see if we can start a fundraiser to try and get some water and bring it down to East Palestine, because like it is, there's not getting any food, they're not getting any water, and there's nothing sanitary for them to actually consume. There's a lot of firefighters from cities around, from PA, that are out there, first responders out there trying to help and fix the situation and assist the situation that are coming back, and where it is that their face is poofy and all red, and they're really being affected by the chemicals that are out there, and they're also being affected by the lack of food that they can consume. We do have reports of certain restaurants, mom and pop shops, that have been donating their own food, but how long can they do that? They're still recovering from the COVID issue.
Yeah, that's 100% right. So Applejack, can you tell people how close you are to what's happening, and like what is like as you're like out in your town and talking to coworkers and things like that, are people talking about this in your area? Because I know that there was like a lot of blackout like from the media on this topic, but I know that more information's getting out there now. But I mean, I've even heard from people that were close to the area that were like, no, I didn't even know that this was happening. Like there wasn't any word of this happening.
Well, I'm very close. I'm about 25-minute drive away. And I'm dealing with a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of reports. I'm on the ground trying to speak and interview as many people as I can. And basically, from what we're hearing, we're only just seeing in local news in my area about what's going on. It's been being reported since like 2 weeks ago, and this has been going on for 3 weeks. Not even 2 weeks, like a week ago, and it's been going on for 3 weeks. You know, so there's a big situation where it seems like they're not trying to allow reporters report on what's going on, but we're hearing from word of mouth before we're hearing from any actual media that's telling us what's going on. Like me, myself, I wasn't even explained to it, and I'm so close to the place. I wasn't even told until a friend of mine on Twitter told me, you know? So that's a whole situation that in itself is going through a big situation. Like I said, I'm speaking with a lot of people on the ground. I have a lot of family members out here. I mean, a lot of people that have family members that are out there. And a big situation that they're going through is that they're speaking about how neighboring towns is affecting them and how they're having respiratory issues. And it's a really big it's a big issue with just understanding the severity of what's going on. There's a lot of people that have been saying, "Oh yeah, train derailment in East Palestine," and they don't even understand the repercussions of what's going on. They don't even understand how bad the chemical spill has been. I've only just explained to certain few people that I work with out here in Akron or in Canton that have been telling me that have been telling me that they just thought everything was fine now that Biden had not Biden, but the DeWine administration had said that everything was clear now. And I'm trying to explain to them that no, we're still having fume clouds. I've received video of people staring into the river and having chemical rainbows floating out of the rivers going on there. You ready? I'm all right. You need to take it out. No. You good. Oh, I'm sorry. So, like I said, it's been a really big situation with just trying to get the media out on what's going on. So it's very difficult. It's very tough, and people are going through a serious problem. But we still have people in Ohio that don't even understand the ramifications of how big things are in East Palestine and how much in danger they are just being so close.
Yeah, that's alarming when the information is like when we have, we have clearer information as to what is happening there because we've looked into this situation, and people are just like, if you keep hearing, no, it's fine over and over again, then eventually they just kind of like believe it and they kind of move on to the next thing. But the thing is that this isn't going to go away. I mean, Snork, I would like to get your opinion on like the aftermath of this. We know like what happened and that it was, all those toxins were released, and we don't even really know fully how many different toxins were there. But what are the long-term effects and like the cleanup of this? Like we talked about this before when we did the podcast, but there's people that may not have heard the show previously, and like what about like they kind of created these forever chemicals now, right?
Well, it could be years before we even know the extent of any type of chemical that's actually out there. And, we're looking at like, well, right now we know everything. And as I said earlier, we don't know what the fire burned in the train cars next to it. We don't know what it burned that was under the tracks. And I don't know if any other buildings close to the railroad tracks burned. And I haven't heard what was there. So, we're finding out now that chemicals that people were exposed to 40 years ago as children are causing cancer. So it's really tough to say, hey, today, this is what we need to do, and it's going to cover up. My main ones are, I would always have an active air filter going on in those areas. And realistically, right now, do everything I can to get exposures in the air out of the room. They should not be burning any candles. They should be doing everything they can. Now, I mean, there should be no air fresheners. So one of the first things you think of, we actually be using an air freshener. No. How does an air freshener works? It puts a chemical into the air, and that's able to support a smell. Well, that could also support other things. So right now, we want the air to be as clean as possible in every room. That means that it's going to get filtered out as quick as possible. Water. Anymore, I don't trust the water anywhere. I mean, it's all contaminated. I don't trust the current limits we have on what we can be exposed to. So I didn't even think it was safe before this event. So realistically, we don't have a water treat at the tap policy in the United States at all. So we are very far behind in how we deal with our exposures. And the next thing is who is going to, our companies, hospitals, research facilities going to support looking into possible causes of cancer if other major funders in the area are going to be the ones that might be focused on if they find that there's a problem. So like we mentioned BlackRock, if BlackRock owns a company, is BlackRock going to support a university doing anything that might show that they did something wrong?
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, we have to look at who's coming in, who's paid. Now, who are the paid contractors to come and clean it up? Who's getting paid to test this information, to test the soil and the air and the water? And, are they shady companies? Are they,
If Hunter Biden's company came in and did it, I don't want to put any shade on them. They might be a perfectly legitimate company. I don't know. Again, I don't know who's on there. I just said Hunter Biden, but I have no idea who is doing it, what is going on, and but I constantly, I'm always concerned at who they're getting for doing the different jobs on this stuff. And I'm trying to see the railroad, and I can't see it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Did I lose my connection?
No, we
Yeah.
hear you.
You still got it. We have someone else that came up as a speaker. Did you have a question or a comment?
No, I don't. I just enabled my speaker thingy because I saw you, but I'm congested with a cold, so I'm I'm just gonna listen.
You should probably just mute in the meantime. Just the little button on the bottom left. There you go. Perfect.
Gotcha.
Just because we'll pick up noise otherwise. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? If anyone else would like to come up and speak?
Did they ever explain exactly what happened for this train to derail so violently like this? Did they ever come up with I know like they said, oh yeah, another train derailed, but do they have a really good excuse? Did they investigate it? Did anyone do any in-depth reporting on the actual accident itself?
Right now, it really looks like it was a bearing that went out, and that bearing going out caused heat, which caused a fire. And there's pictures of that train on fire for somewhere between 8 and 20 miles away from the place where it went.
Now, do you think that they intentionally let it go like that and didn't stop it ahead of time to get it to an area that was less populated? Because
I have no idea on that, but if the train crew knew that that was on fire, I don't really know. I expect there to be some kind of uh, criminal event for somebody, and it probably will be on the train crew.
Yeah, can you speak a little bit about that, about what they've done with, we spoke about this before, but fresh ears on the topic. Like how they have really kind of gutted the actual crew that runs these trains now.
Yes, in the 60s, the crews were at least 5 people. There would have been the engineer, the person who actually basically doesn't steer, but they go forward and backwards and pick the speed. They have times that they have to be at places, so they're other than steering the train, they do everything else in piloting it. The conductor is the head of the train. They're deciding, okay, it's safe to go, don't go, things like that. They can stop the train and say, we're going to repair an issue. Then in the 60s, they had one called a fireman. The fireman's responsibility was the actual train, the actual engine. So the engineer kept the engine running, made sure it was oiled and everything like that, everything that was necessary for the part. And then there was brakemen, and the brakemen were responsible for if a hose came loose or any other condition, they would go back and change it. Occasionally, trains would break a knuckle. They'd have spare knuckles on. They go back and swap that out. Those were quite heavy, but trains were much shorter in the 60s. So occasionally during a trip, the brakeman would go train to train and mark the wheels. And when they marked the wheels, they would give an indication of the temperature. They would also look for what they call hot box. Where the bearing was kept, there was lubricant in there, and if it got too hot, it would sometimes catch fire. And it was part of the brakeman's duty to go out and make sure that there was not a fire at these bearings to prevent issues just like this. And over time, they decided that it was an unnecessary cost. And just recently, they were reducing the train crews again, where they wanted it down to 2 people. And in some of the areas, they want to take it down to 1 person. So their amount of safety materials or personnel that they have on the trains is drastically reduced. Sorry, that's about all I got.
No, thank you. I think that's good information for people to have, because like everything's been chipped away at. Regulation, like the amount of people, like the amount of time that you actually have off. People are overworked and underpaid completely, and then they're operating these huge, like they're operating huge machines that are transporting like a lot of toxic material at once. Like, is that normal for them? To transport so much toxic stuff together and all at once? Like, I would think there would be like protocol to keep it like separated, and like, I mean, I guess we just take advantage of that, thinking that there is some regulation on these things, because we don't know until we find out.
Actually, that probably wasn't an abnormally large grouping. So the number of train cars that we're talking about, that probably was not an abnormally large grouping. So we probably don't want to characterize it as that, which gives you a thing of that there might be a lot of these rolling around the country, all without number of train crews that we would have had in the past.
Wow, it's crazy. I mean, and then I've seen videos of like people showing that the tracks are just completely uneven in other places, and the train like is jumping on the tracks. I mean, we're having like 1,000 of these accidents and derailments in an entire year, and that number is like astronomical to me. Like like, why aren't we fixing this? Why are we letting it get to this point where an entire town now is sick and poisoned, and who knows what the long-term damage is going to be? And then from there, how much farther out that goes to other people, because it's in the air now that we get. I'm in Connecticut, we get that lake effect snow. And so we hear that a lot in our news reports, like when they're talking about the weather and the nor'easters that are coming or whatever. And they talk about how we get that lake effect snow, and we get all of that comes directly from over there. So I think that, people need to realize that it's much bigger than just that central area where it's located. Because once these chemicals are in the environment, like if they're not getting treated, they're not getting removed, and they're just getting diluted down. Well, where is that dilution going? Because you told me before, Snork, right, about how they, that the dilution is part of it. Well, they'll say that's like, I don't know, I don't want to say the wrong words, but like a solution, or like they kind of like take it as, well, it got diluted, so it's not as much, and it's better.
If they dilute it to the point where they can't measure it anymore, they consider it gone.
Even if it still has health effects to the people, if it's still less.
Well, we take it. So everything that's got a health effect has been studied, and if it has been studied, it will have a toxic level of what they studied. So if what they're viewing doesn't meet that level, they can't say it's toxic. So we have many things that are undefined as what their toxicity is, just because we have not searched for it at that level. Things that we have looked at, like lead, you'll see a report that says toxic at all levels.
Wow. So, and who do we need to put pressure on to make these changes and make these things tested, and so we can figure out like where that does where.
Well, we need somebody that really has the guts to get things done, has demonstrated that they've got the capability of performing tasks on this. We need somebody that's really tough, maybe like Kamala Harris.
Yeah. I don't know how you said that without cracking up. I would have not been able to get through that sentence.
No, it's pretty sad. What do we do? What do we do? And then we look at what resources do we have to address the issue. And sadly, we pick our vice president by, it seems to me that we pick our vice president by someone that is meant to be really not someone you want to take over for the president to prevent them from getting impeached. Looking at the town
on purpose. It really does. It really feels like on purpose. Like they literally had to find somebody that nobody would want to replace Biden. And that's what they did. And they found that person, and that's who they put in the VP slot. They found somebody that would be less desirable than him. I mean, what a task that must be. You know what I mean? Like, imagine being the person with that task. Like I have to find somebody that they're gonna like less than who do we have in charge.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I just don't have the words.
So is there any kind of procedure or technique or anything that people can do, like when they're exposed to this stuff? Like, is it gathering on, if it's in the air, is it getting on people's clothes? Like, can they wash this?
I would guess that
like, what do you do?
From what I'd read the other night, my best bet is if it's contaminated, get rid of it. If I were to go outside, if you believe that there's something this bad out there, maybe you should be wearing bags over your shoes. You know, and maybe, you know, I'm still shocked that we didn't pull everybody out of that area until we knew that it was safe.
And they only told people to evacuate within a 1 mile radius of it. And it crossed, I mean, like, it's right on the border, you know, like, so there's people in multiple states being affected by this. And, you know, because it's like, oh, well, no, nothing's going on, nothing to see there, you know, it's being ignored. I mean, are regular respirators or anything like that, is there anything that is actually going to protect people if they have to be out? I saw everybody at that town hall, and, like, you know, I don't see everybody in respirators, and everybody's there and they're just kind of like, well, I'm already breathing it in, I guess.
Well, for the respirator to do any good, there's a large portion of the population that could actually not breathe well in an adequate with an adequate respirator on. And for a lot of people, the minimum respirator they could use would be called a PAPR, powered air personal respirator. And that means it's going to cost between $800 to $3,000 just to buy one of those, which is basically like a hat with a hose into it, and it's got a filter and a on there. You might need a new filter every 8 hours, and that filter itself could be $15 to $20 a piece. So for people who are already strained on income, I don't see very many people that can afford to actually use a PAPR.
Wow.
Realistically, in many cases where we had essential workers out working with people that were suspected of having COVID, nurses were actually using PAPRs in many hospitals because where they felt that they were in a ward known to have COVID patients, that was about the only thing they could do. And I can remember there was a shortage of them about the time. A good idea of how short they were, you barely even saw the word PAPR mentioned in the news. My phone keeps wanting to turn off.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, they're not even offering people, like, assistance and help out of the town, and they're telling people it's fine. Of course they're not going to supply them with those, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, if suddenly we needed PAPRs for a community, probably the largest community we could find enough PAPRs to cover would probably be Des Moines. I mean, really small communities. We're not talking that there's a lot of these things available.
Oh, it's just so heartbreaking. It's just absolutely so heartbreaking. And just feeling so, like, trapped, like, wanting to do more. And all I can think of is to get the information out there. Like, that's what I can do. That's what I'm going to do for the people, because I don't know what else to do. I don't know, you know, I don't have solutions to this. And I want them really badly. It's not a lack of not finding them. I don't know what to do with chemicals like of this magnitude.
No, like I said, they have to have a book so for all the chemicals, and it's a huge book, and probably most of it's online anymore. But of looking up for each chemical what you're supposed to do. When you see a chemical that says "do not attempt to resuscitate," we're already talking about something pretty severe.
Yeah, can you talk about that a little bit?
I forgot which chemical that was. I don't have my list up.
Yeah, I don't have I couldn't pronounce them if we did, but no, there are some chemicals though that you were talking about, like, that it literally tells people not to resuscitate if they are having an issue.
Yeah, because it basically meant that "do not resuscitate" was if the person was that contaminated that they're out that the person that tried to resuscitate probably wouldn't survive. I mean, not the victim, the person that was attempting to rescue would probably also die.
And so you can just imagine how people are feeling with their animals, that, like, if whether they had to leave them behind, or even if they were just outside during, when they did this and when they did the burn. I mean, I don't know how quickly it was that they, I don't know their exact timeline of like how quickly derailed, to how quickly they responded, to how quickly they set it,
I don't think they had more than minutes. I would be very surprised if it was more than a half hour that they had to respond. I don't want to state something because I do not know, but I would expect it would be within minutes that they made the decision to breach the tanks.
And that's what's crazy about that, is that they covered up and they said they didn't know everything that was in those tanks. And they have to have at least some sort of record as to what they're transporting. They have to have
Each of the tankers would have a position or a placard on them of what they have on it. And let's see here.
I mean, do they test what happens when multiple, like, is there any kind of like EPA testing on, oh, we have this combination of chemicals that have, like mixed and then now burned together, and what does that create? And I mean, do we even have this information? Will we have it at all?
As far as I know, the last I had, it was tank by tank what information they were supposed to have. And I'll see if I can go back to your website and drop a link. Let's see. So maybe if Stever can pick up that link, he can see if it's something he can post. Oh, it hit me on size. 241 characters. So that's not an option.
Do you want to send it? Do you want to send it to my Twitter? I can probably pull it up that way.
Oh yeah, I'll try that. Sorry, I guess I'm coming down with a cold too. You get a cold, I start to get stupid.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us again, because this is just so important. And thank you, everybody who's hanging out with us on the YouTubes.
Yeah. And the people in the spaces.
And the people in the spaces. And if anybody has any questions, or you guys want to speak on anything or whatever, let us know.
There you go. I put it in the Twitter.
Okay.
Make peace with truth.
Okay. Oh, it says it might be unsafe.
Oh.
I have to ignore the warning and continue.
Snort should not be safe.
It won't let me see the link.
But no.
Nope.
Doesn't like
it. It will not direct me to that link.
I'll see if I can find another one.
Of course. Sorry about that, guys. That's so weird.
Yeah, they'll know exactly all the details of everything in about 10 or 15 years, and we'll release that information about 115 years from now.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be trying to hide the information from us for as long.
Actually, that website is not showing.
The web.
You broke it.
Too much information. Sorry. At your court.
Shouldn't talk about this on the news when they're online, when they can go out and delete it real quick.
I know.
Okay. Here we go. I got it. I'm trying to put up. I'm going to give the article I took it out of. You'll have to go down where it says look for the placard number. This is the information And it's really the same between U.S. and Canada. And I'll put that back up in the tweet deck and see if you can read that one.
Okay, I think I got it this time.
Bingo. Canadians coming through in the clutch.
Yes, thank you.
And our trains with this kind of stuff go between the two countries.
It's taken sweet time to load.
Important information. Share with everybody. Certainly not on Twitter space.
All right. So what do I have to? What do I need
Look
to?
down on the page. It's the second picture down where it says look for the placard number. So these are where it has on the side of it, where it's telling you, you see what's in this train. I'm trying to see if I can zoom in on this. Open the image in a new tab.
Oh, okay.
So it's got the information similar to that document that I showed you, what you're supposed to do. And there's that red number down there.
So that
Number 1075, the fire people or responders can actually look that up real fast and say, okay, what is a 1075? And that will say, burn it, blow it, whatever they need to do, or just evacuate for 5 miles, whatever the special instructions will be there.
do you want to pull it up, Steve, for the YouTube chatters? I can put the link in the YouTube chat right now. So in case anyone wants to look at it, but it's in our, in case anyone wants to the group chat. It's for the is for that.
That is the clue to the first responders.
It's a square, but it's turned on its side, so it's more, a diamond shape, I guess.
Yeah, and that's liquefied petroleum. So that is another one that is capable of doing a blevy. So we have some that, under no circumstances we want to vent. We have others that we want to vent.
So that's how they're able to know exactly how to respond in a certain ways, by the hazard, hazardous material tag that's on Yeah, Bella said that in our YouTube chat that it was not properly marked, and also before said that it was a bearing or whatever you had said. Um, that caused the issue.
I was just going to reach for one and show you what one is, and oh no, you can't see it on there.
I know I know Twitter's is weird when it comes to that. Um, so how long do you think before we're gonna know if these are gonna be like a forever chemicals and what is it? They call it a dioxin. Is that what it's called?
No, not dioxin. You're probably thinking PFAs. Polyfluorinated. I forgot what the last part is. But there are some chemicals we call forever chemicals. There are many chemicals that are out there that last a long time. If we have a bunch of plastic, that plastic could react with some kind of chemical and become something else. And even trees really are quite a bit like plastic. The chemicals of them are often are so close to plastic that they're often treated like plastic. And if they're exposed to different chemicals, they can hold in the tree root, or not root, but wood. They can hold those chemical exposures for long periods of time. So really, we have to look at for fluoroalkyl and for fluoroalkalized substances. That's Bella Lugosi put that in the chat.
So wait, so the trees, I didn't even think about that. Like, so the trees themselves, the wood of the trees that is still growing, they can contain these chemicals from
Actually, trees are a lot cellulose. What is cellulose? One of the first plastics we started working with. A lot of our plants are cellulose. A lot of our plants are basically microplastics.
That's just, oh my gosh.
It's like, no, it's wood. Can't be plastic too. What the hell?
Oh man. Yeah, and then there was like a plant in Florida that's burning, and people are reporting that plastic is falling from the sky.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, there's a plant where it's been on fire for a couple of days, and then the people are like, there's getting residue from the sky that's coming, and that's what's like crazy to me, is that there's all these different like burnings happening all over the place, and explosions, and on top of it, and it's like it seems like more than just like being a coincidence at this point, like when there's just so many different events all at once. But is it just that we're paying attention, or is this or is it that this is what's normally happening and we just don't know that it's happening all the time?
There's fires all the time. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. Wish I could say that we had more. Yeah, plastic pots full of 2-gallon plants at a plant nursery is on fire. Hundreds and hundreds of those pallets of them.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
I mean, do we have any alternative? Like, shouldn't we be using other things instead of continuing what we're doing? I mean, do we need to have a complete revamp of everything that we do as humans? Like, are we
We
too
really do need to be thinking about what we're doing. We have tons of people that we say cannot find work. Well, maybe if we paid them something decent, we should be addressing these issues. If the country started saying that this was important and we started putting efforts into it, maybe we could get some of this stuff under control. I put a link to this fire on there. It's pretty bad. And many trees have harmful chemicals in them. And especially in Florida, there's some trees that stand beside and you can die. So at least these are nursery trees. They're probably safe to be around.
I mean, this is just astounding. First, I feel like we just went through this whole like cycle of like all the factories, the food production was all on fire, right? And it feels like now we're having all of these fires and this happening at the same time. We're having all this upper respiratory illness happen at the same time, and it's like none of this is good for us. This is not we are not winning at being a society that's going to not go extinct. Like, we are causing our own extinction at this point. Like, we are making this planet inhabitable for ourselves and we're looking at the wrong things. We're not focused on like the much bigger pictures of what's happening. Whether or not you drive a gasoline vehicle or not, it isn't really as big of a scale and a big of a difference as like how much toxin is going into the air with all these fires.
Well, yeah, anything can be toxic, and I couldn't answer that. Just different things that are crops can be toxic. And what happens if there's a fire? Different crops can even have chemicals that can be bad to a population. So while it's something we eat, if it's burned, it could be bad, especially in high quantities.
Oh my gosh, are we just like screwed forever? Like, it feels like we're just screwed. It feels like there's so much happening that we're like, we're drowning ourselves in our own bullshit that we're not able to come out of this.
Well, again, if we were to start looking at things, we have probably 2 million people in New York City that'll never have a job, that are put in a situation where they're psychologically almost like a state of a government abuse, that maybe we should be saying, hey, maybe it's time for you to leave New York, pay a decent wage, and maybe we want to work on this aspect. Maybe we want to work on this aspect. Give them a possibility in some jobs somewhere else rather than basically the reason that they're in New York. Am I wrong? Are they there basically to provide income for landlords? And
I mean, yeah.
Why aren't they moved somewhere where they could get a job? So there's so many people that New York does not need anymore. And basically we think of the people that moved to New York 112 years ago, where we used to have people go house to house delivering blocks of ice so people could keep their food cool every day. That was only 100 years ago. We had to have people that would deliver coal to keep houses warm. And for people that lived in the cities, they might not have got coal to their apartment, but the building might have got coal to the basement where it had a coal chimney, or whatever different fuels they use at whatever period of time. And we used to have all kinds of paper that people have to move around, not just the newspapers. A company, every time something would happen, there'd be this huge trail of paper that moved around for everything that happened in a business every day. We don't move paper anymore. When we talk about automation taking jobs, most of the jobs that were lost to automation were not in factories. They were in offices. because we didn't move paper as much as anymore. Starting in the 70s, then the 80s, then the 90s, everything switched from people using pieces of paper in books, pieces of paper that was large printouts, to all of it just being on screen. Huge lack of all of the manual labor that used to need to be done in the city. A majority of it went away. Those jobs aren't coming back. And if we don't do something in the cities for the skills that people have, they're never going to find work, and they're always going to be I would almost say like a subjugated population. And realistically, as a country, I feel that we need to move and give them an opportunity elsewhere where they do have a chance to thrive. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but that seems to be the complete opposite of what the powers that be are planning right now. The plans seem to be driving more and more people into cities and setting up these heavily surveilled smart cities, 15-minute cities where you have everything you need within a 15-minute jaunt. They want people to drive less, travel less. They cite climate change, but they never talk about the bombs that the military-industrial complex dropped. They don't talk about train wrecks in that context. That's for sure. There's no Greta Thunberg talking about this train wreck in Ohio. That's for sure. So it seems like they want to drive more and more people to the cities, kind of entrap them, put them on a UBI for survival. They're buying up farmland. Billionaires are buying up farmland. They don't farm. They're not doing any labor. They want you to eat bugs and fake meat. Like, it's not like they're raising cattle. So something's got to give here. It seems like the thing that makes maybe the most sense for a future is the complete opposite of what these mega billionaires, these oligarchs, and the powers that be want for us. That's
actually, I think it is what's going on. So, like the land that's being bought right now by these people. So if we look at the areas likely to be underwater in 15 to 20 years, the Florida coastline, the East coastline, look at the number of people that need to be moved. And it basically is in the area where these farms are that these wealthy people are moving. There's only a few areas, and if this drought keeps up, there's only a few areas where we could move 100 million people to, and have enough water for them to be able to drink. And people don't realize if there's no water, people cannot live there. And right now, the West is like saying that we need half of the Mississippi River diverted out to fill the Colorado. And people aren't realizing that the Mississippi River is running dry.
Yeah, somebody made a comment on the YouTube, Nikki M, and they wanted to know why are all of our food warehouses burning down, our trains derailing, our chickens being killed, like on purpose? Is this BlackRock and Vanguard evil? Like, what is, like what's really happening here?
Yes, well, a lot of people, the birds, bird flu. It's often what we call monoculture. We have so many birds that are so closely related that if one of them gets sick, the others are also vulnerable to it. We've had tremendous losses. I'm not even sure if peaches didn't die from this. But so we have like other birds that are even in the area out here are dying from the bird flu. And we've lost turkeys, chickens, ducks. So it's pretty bad. But the bird flu does not account for all of the food factories that are burning down. Bird flu does not cause fires.
Yeah, and birds will hide illness. That's something that you learn when so he's referring to Peaches. Peaches is a Sophocrestor cockatoo that was with me for many years, and he suddenly died. and yeah, they hide illness. They because in a flock of birds, if they show any weakness or illness, they get kicked out of their flock, and then it's harder on them for survival. For birds, like that's their natural instinct is to hide that illness. So like we wouldn't even be able to likely tell what is happening with the birds unless we were like closely monitoring a flock of them.
Yeah. But I mean, we're having major problems out here from the birds, and it was not just one issue. We had two things called a derecho 2 years in a row that a lot of the buildings were destroyed that the birds were in, the chickens. And we've had tornadoes. Western Iowa is in a severe drought as well. And northwest Iowa is where the largest part of our chickens are grown. So you basically grow chickens where you can't grow row crops. And I'm not saying we don't have chickens out here, but where you don't have row crops, you're going to grow your row crops there, corn, soybeans, stuff like that. Where you have hilly areas, you're going to grow your livestock, heavy livestock, and places where you can just fit in rows of, they almost look like army barracks, but they'll be almost a football field long, and nothing but chickens, millions of chickens in them. So it's pretty bad when one of those gets hit. And in fact, it doesn't have to be the entire building hit. If just the part with the air supply gets knocked out, it'll kill all the chickens. So when you have 1 million chickens in a room, they need a lot of air. And if they lose power or something like that, they'll lose their chickens.
Yeah, I'm not really buying like the bird flu taking out all these chickens across the country. I think it's just poor living conditions, environmental factors, maybe bad chicken feed. I don't believe that there's a flu that can actually affect chickens coast to coast. They're not transient creatures. They're not flying around. So
No, it is real. There has been a problem with it for a long time. Out here, they've got it reduced. So it's been a very big issue from the time I was a child to now. They no longer allow visitors to come in without wearing all types of gear to prevent them from bringing stuff in with them. Even since the swine flu event, no longer do they allow people that are not sanitized and clean to come in and visit the flocks. And just the amount of material moving around was causing issues. But your feed and stuff can bring in some things that are issues. But again, a bird flu does not cause a building to catch fire.
We have a new speaker, Interban X. Do you have a comment or a question?
Sure. Yeah. I guess I came for the toxic train derailment, but I actually have a question for the guy that was just speaking. Since he seems to know about poultry a lot, I wonder what he thinks about this push to put mRNA vaccines in livestock, poultry, vegetables. Like, what are your thoughts on that? If you're familiar with that.
I am not familiar with that. Okay. Let me take a look and see who's doing that.
Yeah. If you get an opportunity, just type in mRNA and livestock or vegetables. They're trying to push that, and I think that was part of the goal of this whole. I know I'm not here. I guess we're not here to talk about that, but my understanding, hearing a lot of different speakers from different perspectives, different professions, they were saying like this, the whole point, and I think you've probably seen some of these big conferences, and they talked about how the whole mRNA platform was a lot faster than using the eggs, I guess using eggs for vaccines. And so that's how they claim they can do this stuff so quickly. So long story short, they want to put this in everything. They want to put this technology in just other vaccines. They want to put it in, everything, it seems like. So yeah, if you get a chance, just look that up, mRNA and vaccine. But that's I didn't come for that. So my question is regarding this train derailment stuff. I mean, the planting season is about to begin, right? In the spring, in a few weeks. So who's going to want to buy any produce from within a 50-mile radius of this town, if not 100 miles? So that's my question to the group.
I don't really see that as much of an issue. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but the actual sale itself, if they can't find any other buyers, it's probably going to go to the food lunch program.
So we're going to poison the neediest of. It's sick. It's a farce. I'm not laughing at you. It's just such a farce. So we're going to poison the neediest among us with potential whatever. Okay, I mean I get what you're saying.
I'm actually serious.
I know, and I know you are, but it's still a farce. I mean, you got to laugh at this stuff sometimes, but it's a farce. Yeah.
After the deal in Fukushima, one of our trade deals was that we made a rule that we would not test any rice given to the American foods school system from Japan for radioactivity. And so Japan was trying to do everything they could, because they still needed to sell their rice to make money, that they were giving their rice to all kinds of countries, and many of the countries that were taking, these people were hungry, they were taking stuff as donations. They did not want Japanese rice. So Japan was trying to sell all of their rice, maybe not all, a large portion of it, and import American rice that they viewed as safe. And actually, California had some really good rice. Even rice that came from Japan was grown in people whose ancestors were Japanese grew rice, and there's some really good rice farms in California.
Right. Yeah, this is crazy. Thank you.
That is alarming that it always ends up that, it's always the poorest, the weakest, the people that are hungry, that are always the ones that are experimented on or given the toxic food or whatever it is. And like, as a society, we are absolutely failing each other.
Well, when we even look at our lunch program, was our real intent to provide food for the children? No. Our real intent was, when the prices of commodities were down, that it provided sale of these commodities to the school, and it allowed them to subsidize the farmers without saying that they were subsidizing the farmers. So even food stamps were not really a thing to help the poor. Food stamps were a means to actually sell more commodities, because people could walk in with their food stamp and get a loaf of bread, which meant some farmer had to sell a little bit of wheat, maybe a couple of eggs. So everything that's on the food system immediately benefited somebody that was producing food. And also, after Japan, they wanted to not have everybody starving, so that they would just be anxious to go back to war with us again. And we fed the Japanese children. And the person that was chosen to spearhead that was Herbert Hoover. And he was also responsible for identifying that the best utensil for eating a school lunch, and he provided sporks to all the Japanese children to eat. And realistically, the American farmers had gotten used to producing so much food that they almost would have had a rebellion after World War II to suddenly not have. We were feeding the world, and all of a sudden, the world didn't need us to feed them anymore. So we needed to provide more markets for things. So we were feeding all the children in these countries that were devastated, and it kept our farmers going. So after they came home from the war, they needed jobs.
Is that why like milk is pushed so hard in the schools too? It's just really I mean, they have ketchup they call ketchup a vegetable.
Yeah, right.
Well, the ketchup being a vegetable, that was Ronald Reagan's fault. So Ronald Reagan was trying to undo some of these things, and he wanted to take pickles off of hamburgers, and he said they have ketchup. Ketchup's a vegetable. Get the pickles off.
What do he have against the pickles? I don't understand.
Pickle farmers are evil. Come on, we all know that.
Oh my gosh.
That's
It's crazy when you start looking at like how everything when they say follow the money, like literally they mean like follow the money, like even school lunches. That's just insane.
Yeah. Well, like I've said the previous time, you can trace back the funding for what everybody thought was the Roswell event to Wheaties cereal.
wait, how so?
Look up Project Skyhook and look who funded it, or where it was, who built it.
You're saying Roswell was Project Skyhook?
Part of it.
Got you. I'll look into that. Very
And then
interesting.
look up General Mills, the maker of Wheaties.
Okay.
Why were American soldiers fed Wheaties for years and stuff like that.
Oh boy.
So there's a lot of different ways to fund things that happen.
Yeah, now I feel like we're in a period of intentional chaos though. I really do.
I don't know that we were ever out of a period of intentional chaos.
Even more so. I feel like it's ramping up. Like Interban X just said, they are trying to push the mRNA platform into like everything. They've even talked about putting it into plants, which doesn't even make any sense. But they're definitely talking about getting it into cattle. Cattle was the first one I think that dropped in the news, but they've talked about other farm animals as well. But yeah, it's already been a really bad experiment on humans. I can't imagine what they're going to do by putting it into all these animals. And I know for some people it's a cash grab, but some people have to know that this is gonna mess up things. If you think things are bad right now with these, mega farms where all these animals are sick, which because they're in horrible conditions, obviously they're gonna get sick. It's not gonna be good food. What's going to happen when you put mRNA products in them? It's not like these are gene therapies. I don't care what anyone says; they're actually gene therapies by definition, or at least by the definition prior to 2021 when they changed it. So it's pretty insane. And on top of that, we do have all these food production facilities going up in smoke. They've disrupted supply chains. We got all these derailments. We got legacy industries getting destroyed. It's just, I don't know. Things are monopolizing. Thanks to COVID, things monopolized even faster. I feel like industries have monopolized, and it just seems it seems like they're trying to expedite the inevitable, which is like I think the U.S. dollar is going to just go away soon. They're really moving things fast here.
I saw something. I saw something the other day on Twitter. The guy was just like pulling apart a grasshopper while it was alive, and when he pulled it apart, it was just like parasites, just like going crazy, just on the table, just all these parasites. Long story short, they want us to eat bugs, which is just the most alarming and disgusting thing ever. I don't even know how we got here. I mean, I wish like 2020 could just like start over again, get into my time machine and just like warn the world like they want us to eat bugs. in 2020. Stop it.
I think I've seen that.
Right?
Is that grasshopper video the video where they pull out like the long stringy stuff?
Yeah.
Because I know
Exactly.
sometimes like bugs will get taken over by different like fungi, but I think that to me looks like some kind of Morgellons crap. Now Morgellons is like a really obscure, bizarre topic, which in my opinion, Morgellons is like a DARPA project where there's like 3 different types of life form into one synthetic thing. It's like part bacteria, part like eukaryotic cells, part like insect. It's like weird. Like I don't know what it is, but like there's a DARPA project. I think it's a DARPA project. The government won't really talk about it. Doctors stay away from it. They stay away from it more than they stay away from Lyme disease. So you know something weird is going on. It's called Morgellons, and people that get it, it gets under their skin, and it feels like there's bugs crawling underneath their skin. And a lot of doctors say, "Oh, you're just paranoid. You have like some kind of psychosis, and you're just making this up." But like it literally starts growing out of their skin, and you can physically. It's very thin. These like strands, yeah, and they come in weird colors. And there are a couple doctors at like certain universities that have studied this for years, and it's synthetic material because they couldn't match it to anything organic, but it's made it's got different forms of synthetic life all mixed into one thing. It's like the most weird thing I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, that's
how do you spell it? How do you spell Morgellons?
So Morgellons is not really a scientific name. Some woman who I think had it, she just named it because she didn't know what it was. Like it started becoming a thing in like the early 2000s. So she named it Morgellons based off of something she read that was unrelated. It's Morgellons, Morgellons. Because no one named it, and she's like, "What's this thing?" And then she started finding other people who had the same thing, and it is clustered in certain areas. There are certain parts of the country where you get most of the cases, and it is a weird synthetic thing that people think get dropped out of the sky somehow. They don't know.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. I'm not trying to scare anyone. But this has been going on for a good 20 years. There has been at least one documentary made on the topic. Doctors stay away from it.
Bella in our chat said that Joni Mitchell had it.
Yeah, there's been some higher profile people that have had Morgellons. Yeah, it's horrible. Like things literally grow under your skin. You have scabs on your skin, and you can literally pull the stuff out. And sometimes there's weird like insect-like growths on the thing. Sometimes there's like metallic like hexagons that are growing. It's completely this weird synthetic super science experiment. And it kind of seems like a lot of like the things that DARPA works on. So it feels like a DARPA project. I don't know how it got into our environment, and I don't know why people have it, but people get treated like very poorly because there's no resources for the people that have it. There have been hundreds of documented cases, so it's not like 1 or 2 crazy people. No, this is like real, and it's really sad, and I don't know if it's going to get worse. So yeah, everything we're doing is
yeah, no. What you're saying is right. It's a lot of like chimeric, this bio. What am I trying to say? Just trying to do different things with biology and nanotechnology. I know one thing, if y'all look this up, I guess the American chestnut tree was decimated, I guess, a while back or whatever. So now they're trying to bring it back. But now they're going to bring it back with genetically modified seeds. It's going to be a genetically modified. And I don't know what that's, apparently that doesn't sound like a good thing to me when you want to just plant genetically modified trees all over the United States where they once lived, knowing what we know about genetically modified just crops, what are genetically modified seeds and, things from trees are going to do to people living in those. So like what you're saying is it's all over, man. They just trying to, they're trying to bring back mammoth and all these different type of species. So I guess maybe it was inevitable. I don't know. Maybe we just opened up Pandora's box because the human mind it has to keep going. I don't know, but they are really trying to do this trans species, trans everything in our world right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, it feels like we're in like a petri dish of science experiments and everything happening, and everything feels like, like you learn about something and you're like, wait, that feels like it's
feel right.
a novel, not not what's really happening. But it's all based on reality, and it's like it's kind of, I think that a lot of people tune it out, because it's easier to just dismiss it as a tinfoil hat conspiracy, as opposed to going, wow, well, that could really actually be happening, and that things are happening, and like these ideas are implanted in our brain via program. Like that's why TV programming, and even if you don't watch stream, if you still consume Netflix, consume your entertainment in certain ways, anything mainstream, then you're getting that indoctrination constantly. And parents are putting their kids in front of TV screens, and we've just, everything's kind of spiraled out of control, and I feel like we need to find some stability and find some community, and really figure things out and like work together instead of being constantly like dividing the division, and then like it's just like it becomes this mathematical equation of just constantly getting down to where everybody feels so singular when we're in this world. We're I mean, like, it's amazing. We're on a planet that's floating in the sky. Like, it's magical, like it's really magical what we have as human beings, but we're so far from that. And I feel like we need to catch up. We need to reconnect. We need to catch up, and we need to figure out how to like come together and really figure this shit out, because it's going to be all of our demise. Like, like they're not like, they might think that they're going to want to live under bunkers if something drops off, but I can guarantee that they're not going to like that for very long, because a lot of us were in lockdowns for the last couple of years, and it changed all of our habits. And while the oligarchs and everybody else was out there doing whatever they wanted and telling us that we were the little peons, and we were supposed to just do what we were told.
Well, I got even worse news for you. The human body is this huge factory of all kinds of proteins and chemicals, and just exposure from the environment from certain chemicals can cause all kinds of things to happen. For instance, there's a woman in Germany that found that she takes breast milk that is overaged, that it's no longer safe to give to children in hospitals, and she actually adds one chemical to it, and it turns into silk. So they're making a silk, but the only difference is the silk it can be used with burn victims and anything else, because it isn't viewed as unnatural to the human body, which means if this chemical were to be introduced inside the body, you could actually produce these chemicals inside the body, and you would not be able to get rid of it. So we can also express different problems, like you're talking about these things under the skin. We make plastic. Our parts of our skin and stuff basically are this, and people aren't used to thinking of different natural materials as plastic. But plastic, although it can be made from petroleum, usually is made by a being, and so we have to be careful. And we might not know for 20 or 30 years, exposure to some chemical might cause our body to produce something else inside. And so you've got more to worry about than just bad government organizations. Just not knowing what chemicals we're using can be bad.
I mean, like, we're on our own path to self-destruction. We don't need aliens or like spy balloons to be like the distraction. Like we need to focus. We need to keep our focus on what's really happening and what's really going on. I mean, I see these people that are now dealing with these issues, and they're not getting the help that they need. And I'm just like, I wish that I know that if it was me that was there, if I was the one that was affected by this, I would want people speaking up for me and fighting for me. People that I don't know, that I have no, communication with. I would want that for me. So, I mean, like the long-term health effects, like just, from that. I mean, oh my God. It's just mind blowing. It's just to load up our animals and get out, and where would we go and what would we do? And
Most of the shelters will not take the animals. So if there's like an emergency shelter set up, they just expect your pets to die.
yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that my dog, we have a service dog. Like he could be with me, but that would be it. You know,
And you'd probably have to even fight to have him come.
yeah. I mean, I'd have to have my paperwork and everything like that. Yeah, it's just it feels like it's just so out of control, and like like so many of us want better, but we're the ones that are in a position of not having the means to help other people. Like I would give somebody the shirt off my back, but I don't, I don't have many to give.
You notice nowadays that multiple people who have cancer have died from cancer or had cancer. Did not used to be so common.
Oh yeah, Nikki M is in the YouTube chat and said, exactly, you have noticed nowadays that everyone knows multiple people who have cancer, who have died from cancer or had cancer, and it used to not be so common. That's yeah.
It's true. Now it's like one in one. What the hell is it? 1 in 3 people, 18 to 35.
1 in 3 people, 18 to 30, 18 to 45.
Yeah, will have cancer.
Those numbers are not in our favor, and we're making things worse for ourselves. Like, I don't know how to wake people up and get them to care about things. I mean, I've had friends of mine where I've spoken about things and I'm like, yeah, you should be careful about, that boop boop, because I say that because we're streaming to YouTube right now. And you have to be careful about that, and I have information about that for you. And their response is, oh, I don't tell me that, or I don't want to hear that. And it's like, well, do you not want to know it? Or like, they literally don't want to know. It's like they'll deal with it when the time comes, because it's just inevitable. Like, it's just going to happen. Everybody figures that, if I ignore it until it happens, then, whatever it happens, I can't do anything to change it at that point. And I feel like we have this defeatist attitude when it comes to everything. And we need to change that. We need to look at our approach to things and see how we can turn it around, where we're not having a defeatist attitude and we're actually trying to make things better and be preventative and really think things through and think about things in a more community oriented fashion. Like, does everybody have an emergency evacuation plan? Like, what, they always like tell you when you're a kid in school. I remember it was like, practice. If there's a fire, where's your family meet up? Like, what is your family evacuation plan if something happens? If something like this happened where you are, do you have a plan in place?
Yeah, I basically have no plan.
I'm skating. I'm skating.
I mean, like, we have a friend that she's from a reservation up in Maine, and I'm like, listen, if something happens, like, that's where we're going. But do I have an actual like plan in place? No. Do I have survival stuff? Yeah, I have some prep, some things that I've prepped over time and over the years. But am I really prepared? No, I'm not. I don't have the means to be prepared in that way. I really don't.
No.
Ricky, what about you? What would you do if you were in the city and something happened?
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad. The city's not ready for anything, man. I'll tell you that. City folk are not ready for anything big to happen. It'd be crazy. Just moving people here is just good luck. We have 8 million people in New York City. Getting people out of here would be insane.
Well, the next thing is a lot of people can't live outside New York. But I mean, the best thing they could do is like Chicago, because a lot of them can't drive. If you want to bring them out here, they've got to drive.
That's so true. You said so true. I know so many people that like, because we're in Connecticut, and so yeah, I know a lot of people in New York that never got their license or anything like that because they don't need it. You don't need it the same way that you do here.
Yeah, we probably have about 1 million people without driver's license. That's
that,
crazy. I have mine.
And a car. A car's money. And that might be when they suddenly have to get out of there, they might not have money to buy a car. They might not have money to get the insurance. They might not have money for gas. All of a sudden, you got 8 million people all trying to buy a used car. The price of used cars is going to go up, and there's just not going to be enough used cars.
Yeah, I mean, would they even know how to change a tire or check the oil or do any maintenance? If you haven't done that your whole life, you know what I mean? Like, I've changed a bunch of tires. You know what I mean? I know how to check my oil. I know how to work on my vehicle. Like, for the most part, I figure things out. But that's because I have that experience. But other people that haven't had that experience, that's going to be a whole new thing for them. They're not going to know what to think.
Yeah. And older people probably couldn't change it anyway.
Yeah, so
they probably could tell you how.
We need to really evaluate where we are as people, without just across everywhere. We need to really, I think, reevaluate where we're at. And just a reminder, we live in a country without a healthcare system. And so it's not as though these people that are getting sick or ill or anywhere besides outside of East Palestine, like anyone anywhere who is having an issue with any of these places where these burns are happening or they're exposed to whatever, or even if it's something a much smaller scale, not everybody has access to go to a healthcare provider. And it's something that's so frustrating to me, is that I'll hear people say, well, just go see your doctor. Not everybody has that availability to just go to a doctor. And then on top of it, we have all this, this toxicity happening, and people are breathing that in. And, and then part of it is, they say, don't even resuscitate, don't even, if it's certain chemicals, because you'll die too. I mean, that's just heartbreaking.
So kind of related to this topic and what you just said, I heard that people as far away as like Cleveland, Columbus, the Detroit area, I think as far south as like the Appalachian, they were, I guess, smelling is it ammonia or some strange chemicals that would be related to this vinyl at that far away. So I wonder, what type of impact that's going to have on these people. Is it going to be permanent or is it just a little temporary thing? It's going to be weird.
Well, earlier we were talking about I think it was a vinyl chloride spill in a community in New Jersey that happened in 2012. So we're talking over a decade ago, which was presumably a smaller spill than the one that happened in East Palestine, Ohio. And they're still worried about those chemicals to this day. Clearly not as bad as it once was, but they're still concerned about contamination in that community. So I can only imagine what's going on in the region of East Palestine and the surrounding region.
Surrounding states, yeah.
There's several states involved, yeah.
Exactly, yep. Some of the most fertile, areas in the U.S., lots of food and water, all these, major water systems and all that. I mean, is it going down the Mississippi? Is it going to hit? I wonder if anybody's like checking in New Orleans or Memphis now, if they're catching, chemicals that weren't there before, who's doing that work?
That's a good question. Yeah, because they're already covering it up where it happened. So, they're like, oh, nothing to see here. We have this, this dilution method. If it's all just going away, then, like Snork was saying earlier, like they get to a level where it's so low that they can say, oh yeah, it's not there. It's not traceable because it's at a level that is
right.
out. But yeah, that's a good question. And then I want to know, who were the companies? Like, who got these contracts and why did they get them? And do they have any fraudulent, history? And, because you usually that's where you find it. You'll find that, like, oh yeah, well, this happened, and then the company was fraudulent, or this person was paid off for these results. And it's like, I don't know how these people sleep at night. I really don't. I don't know how they just don't have a conscience or whatever it is, because I couldn't do that. I could not do that to somebody else. I just don't have that in me.
Oh, did my phone die?
No, you're there.
It keeps going black on me. Hope they get a PC version of this pretty soon.
Yeah, they have it where you can listen to it on the computer, like the spaces part, but it doesn't let you like talk on the spaces that way.
But I don't know what kind of delay there would be either.
The delay is still the same. It's still like
it's the same.
We're just broadcasting it. It's just 30-second delay to YouTube.
Oh yeah.
I'm back on the screen. Hi everybody.
Yeah, Steve's on the YouTube. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us tonight. And please share this out there. If you're on any of the social medias watching, if you can give us a thumbs up, we would appreciate that. We really would.
We would.
So Snork, do you know like what any of these long-term side effects could be for the people of this? Like, is there anything that people can do in the meantime? Like, if they can see a doctor? I don't even, like, it's just a weird thing to even ask, because it's like, I just said, not everybody can go see a doctor if they need to.
No, even right now, I mean, so far we know eye irritation, skin irritation, possibly webbed feet and something like that. But other than that, I really can't say there's anything else we can um, call out.
I know there was people saying that like there could be something with your liver and everything else too.
Yeah.
Respiratory issues, hormonal issues. They've said that as well.
Yeah. So I really wished I could bring it down to anything further, but you know, I'm not totally in on everything that's happening there.
Well, all we can do is just keep updating the information as we get it, and keep moving forward on it. We did do a 3-hour stream. I put the link below in this Twitter Spaces. If you are interested, anybody, it's on YouTube and Rumble, and it should be on Odysee as well.
That's an excellent comment.
What did Nikki say? I did see where people were suggesting to get a physical ASAP, have records of it to keep track of your blood work, etc. Yeah, I would say that that's definitely a good thing to have a baseline as to what could be happening with you. Absolutely.
There's also a lot of hospitals will let you go in and do maybe twice a year. You go in and I pay like $15, and they'll tell you a lot of stuff that's in your blood. So they'll tell you what your current numbers of how much vitamin B or any kind of deficiency you have in the vitamin series. You know, how much are you anemic or anything like that. And even that, if you can't afford anything else, just being able to walk in and get that simple blood test, that's probably federally subsidized. But it's at least a record showing that, hey, suddenly saw this creeping problem after this date. But having some type of documentation as what your health was nearer to when you were healthy to after the event is better. So I know the event has already happened, but if you have a chronic exposure, it should be getting worse and worse. So that might show up in these blood tests.
That's a good point. That's definitely a really good point.
Yeah, wherever Nikki M is, his health department does it free.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Nikki M is saying that in our YouTube chat.
So I remember doing this in Illinois when I lived in Illinois, and I told a friend of mine in California. He went in, had it done, and it even came back, and which was a surprise to us, that it even showed what percentage of his DNA was from sub-Saharan African. And I'm like, I've never seen that on a blood test before. So.
Whoa.
Why are you all checking out my blood that closely, man?
I know, that's really checking it out, man.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds like an expensive test.
Yeah, definitely. And then I wonder, like, how much, information they're getting from that kind of thing at the same time.
Oh, they're probably collecting your information, selling it, but at some of these places.
Oh.
As they do. I mean, I think it's a good idea for those people to get some blood work done. Not that the CDC even cares, because people have been trying to raise the alarm about blood issues for the last couple of years, and the CDC doesn't seem to care. So I don't know.
I don't know that that's even connected to the CDC.
Yeah. So who? Oh, the EPA, I guess, would be the.
That was local state.
Or
but
local.
A lot of them have their own. What medical system would that be under? I don't know what effect it is. We have too many different too many different agencies anyway.
Something under HHS, I guess. I don't know.
So I don't know. I don't know if I don't even know what to do or say anymore. I'm just like, oh, it's just, and there's so many. We have so many more questions as always than we have answers. But I think that all we can do is keep our attention on this and make sure that we don't let this get swept under the rug. Because they will memory hold it, and we know that they will try to dilute down, the same way that they're going to try to say that diluting the chemicals down will make it where it's not really there anymore. And that but we have to make sure that we don't allow that to happen, because we would want people standing up for us if it was us and we were the people there in East Palestine.
Yeah. She said.
That's Steve Cutler in the background.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Do you guys have more that you would like to speak up about on this?
Honestly, I got nothing else. I think we'll learn some more about what's happening over the next several days. People like Jeremy Lafredo and Addie Ads are on the ground there, and I'm sure eventually news will have to spill out as to what's going on with the people there and what the actual situation is. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll have to have another one of these chats in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Snork, for being able to come on again. And I appreciate your time. I know you had an early morning this morning, so we couldn't do it yesterday, but this worked out really well.
Yeah, it's just part of being a teacher. I like to get the students in early.
I know, that's such a weird thing. I never that's one thing I didn't like about school. I'm not a morning person, so I had a hard time, like first half of the school day, I was like waking up, I feel like.
Well, I feel like I'm waking up first 3/4 of the school day.
See? I don't know why I don't know why we still do things the way that we do. Like, just, it was set up that way for a reason in the beginning, but
well, it meant to be so that the children could be going to school while their parents were at work.
Yeah.
And realistically, students really shouldn't be in the class before 10 a.m.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. Well, yeah, thank you, Ricky, for helping me co-host. This was my first Spaces, so I'm really, happy how it turned out, and we were able to really, check it out and express how we're feeling, and we were able to simulcast it over to our YouTube and Rumble as well. So that was really, a nice experience, and we'll be able to use this, now we have this knowledge of doing it, we'll be able to do this in the future for other things. And I think we'll definitely have to do some more Spaces like this, Ricky, and do some more do another show on this when we, maybe sometime after this weekend, as we get more information. We'll have to, gather the troops up again and do another one.
Would love to. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're always up for a Ricky rant. Like, that's just a thing. We love it. And thank you to everybody who spoke and was here to support us. We appreciate it. Please get the word out, share this. Let the people of East Palestine know that, they have support out here and that people care about them, because that can go a long way when you're in the midst of something so tragic. Just to know that you have support, it means a lot. All right, unless anyone has anything else to say, I guess I will end the Spaces.
Yeah, I wanted to say something real quick, and it might be a shot in the dark, or but it might not. So Lucky and Ricky Rants, I really appreciate what you do, brother. And I just wanted to extend a hand out to if you're going to continue to do these spaces and you're going to record them, reach out to International News Network. He's building a international news network on cross platforms, kind of like what you're doing right now, Lucky. And this will be a way to, it's mainly a Christian based network, but it's not just for Christians. You know what I mean? It's just lovers of truth and people that are wanting to unite against the what people call elites. I say more properly and accurately, the parasites. So if you feel compelled to, just reach out to International, let them know Michael Cook sent you, and you could offer him to use your recording, so that way, more people that may not have heard of you, if they resonate with your message, then they'll be able to follow you through that network or find you through that network. So I just wanted to extend that offer out to y'all.
Thank you so much. I followed you back, and I wrote it down, and we'll check that out. Absolutely. Because it's not about excluding people. It's about, I mean, no matter what, I feel like everybody should have a voice and everybody should have a say. And we have to reach across.
Yeah. This is a good time in history to put our differences aside. And we have bigger fish to fry right now. So if any personal gripes that we have, it's about time to go ahead and, kind of just wise up, and you know what, we'll deal with our little problems later on, and then we'll go ahead and take care.
Yeah, let's work on freeways right now. You know what I mean? Bring up things. Let's work on that, and then we'll figure out the rest of it later on. Let's just
let's take care of this right now. Let's do ourselves a favor and take care of that. But
yeah, let's prioritize life.
Yes. But Ricky Rants, I don't know you, Lucky, but I'm gonna get to know you. Ricky Rants, brother, respect what you do. I recognize your plight, and I support you, brother. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ricky's amazing.
Appreciate you.
So grateful to have him as a friend. Well, thank you so much, Michael, and we will look into that.
All right, people. Can you hear us? I think you can. I think it's probably working. Fantastic.
All right. You guys hear? You guys hear us?
There's people here. They can hear us.
They can hear us?
Hello. Mike, don't look so surprised. It's fine. The Twitter Spaces is over. Lady Alex, go to bed. God damn it. It's late at night. What time is it? It's like 10 o'clock.
Well, that was cool.
It's quarter of midnight.
We had a good amount of in and out traffic on our Twitter Spaces. That was the first one. So, I'm glad it wasn't like crazy.
It was good. No, that was decent. And it was interesting because well,
now we know how they work and everything too. We know how I haven't done the interfacing of doing it all together, so we can do this with more topics, and it reaches a broader amount of people.
And more people, more people can be on this side, on this side of the panel too. Like it, you know what I mean? If you're muted there, you could talk here, and vice versa. So it you could do both things. You can live stream while you're broadcasting the space and talk over at the same time, even.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yes, Josh, we just wrapped up our Twitter Spaces.
Josh was just being nice. He waited till the end.
He did.
We see.
Are you gonna show everybody that cute dog that you have on your lap?
He just won't stop getting off my lap. He's like, hi. Hi, everybody.
Oh,
I'm Leo with,
who is so cute?
with the big mouth right ears.
Oh, you just look so adorable on the camera.
Oh, it's so cute.
He's so photogenic.
He is. He's a handsome dog. You get right down to it.
So, do you guys want a little bit of music now that we did that nice long Twitter space?
Don't ask them. Tell them.
Well,
You are the decider.
I'm the decider.
Well, yeah. All right. Hopefully the sound is okay. People can hear it all right. Got a little. Oh, we could take him to church.
Hey, special shout out to Ricky and Snork. Thank you guys for coming on and helping with this.
Well, come home late, you come home early. Come home big when you're feeling small. Come home straight, you come home curly. Mama, sometimes you don't come home at all. What in the world has come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed of the sound of loneliness. You're broken the speed of out there running. You're out there running, 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 running.
It's a mighty mean and a dreadful sorrow. It's crossed the evil line today. And how can you ask about tomorrow? We ain't got one word to say. What in the world has come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed of the sound of loneliness. Out there running just to be on the run.
All right. A little John Prine. All right, I like that. I like the rotary wah 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 sound. It's it's like it's, what do you call it? It's nice. It's nice. It has a nice feel to it. I'm gonna play another song, and I hope everybody's having a decent Friday evening. It's going on Saturday, any minute now. Hopefully the sound is working out okay. The levels, I didn't really check them at all.
Oh, we didn't check anything.
We didn't check anything. We just jumped right in. Said, fuck it. Let's do it. What in the hell? Does everything sound okay? Hey, everybody.
Is that my cue to...
Is my guitar too loud? Is it all right? Can you hear me? Sounds all right to me. I think it's okay. The guitar's got a little chunk to it. It's not too awful bad. Maybe a little less bass on it would be better. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's see how that works out. Sounds most excellent. That's what what Megan said, so I'm going to trust her.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Nikki.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank all you beautiful people for hanging out with us.
You should, if you like music, then you should check out Steve's channel, Steve Cutler Live.
1940 Xmas Eve with a full moon over town. Stagger Lee met Billy the Lion and he blew that poor boy down. And do you know what he shot him for? What do you make of that? 'Cause Billy the Lion threw lucky dice, won Stagger Lee's Stetson hat. Bio, tell me how can this be? You arrest the girls for turning tricks, but you're scared of Stagger Lee. Oh, Stagger Lee's a bad man and he shot my Billy D. Bio, go get him or give the job to me. Delia, Delia, oh sweet Delia D. Now how the hell can I arrest him? He's twice as big as me. Well, now don't ask me to go downtown, I won't come back alive. Not only is that mother big, he packs a 45. Well, Bio, Delia said, just give me your gun. He shot my Billy dead, now I'm gonna see him hung. She went into the Lions Club, threw Billy the Lion's blood. Stepped up to Stagger Lee at the bar and said, buy me a gin for his love. Stagger Lee lit a cigarette. She shot him in the balls. Blew the smoke off her revolver. Had him dragged to City Hall. And Bio, see you hanging high. He shot my Billy dead, and now he's got to die. Delia went walking down on Singapore Street, and the three-piece band on the corner played Nearer My God to Thee. But Delia whistled a different tune. What tune could it be? The song that woman sung was Look Out Stagger Lee. Yeah, the song that woman sung was Look Out Stagger Lee. For the song that woman sung, well, look out Stagger Lee. Look out, Stagger Lee.
Ooh, the wind is howling outside.
The wind is howling.
I'm sure that it's not, the mics aren't picking it up, but man, it is howling.
It is howling.
It really is.
Do. Let's see. Yeah, we have all the different, whatever you call them, thingies. What the hell? I was gonna do. What did you just say? The wind is howling.
The wind is howling.
Howl.
Must be some kind of way out of here. Cry the joker to the thief. There's too much confusion here. I can't get no relief. Businessman, they drink my wine, and the plowman dig my earth. None will ever along the line, knowing what it is worth. Hey, hey. No reason to get excited. Thiefy kindly spoke. There are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke. But you and I, we've been through that, and this is not our fate. Let us not talk falsely now, brothers and sisters, now the hour's getting late. Hey, hey, getting late, getting late. Well, now, all along the watchtower, princess kept the view. Other women came and went, barefoot servants too. Yes, and outside in the cold distance, wildcat did growl. Two riders were approaching, and the wind began to howl. Wind began to howl. All along the watchtower, princess kept the view. Barefoot women came and went, and little children too. Outside in the cold distance, a wildcat did growl. Two riders were approaching, and the wind began to howl. 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 Began to howl. Howl. Yeah. Do 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 do.
That's a fucking awesome effect.
Did you write to Matrix Bars and tell them what flavor you think that they were releasing?
I didn't.
I said salted caramel. I don't know. There's a lot of different flavors that people are saying here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a mint chocolate. It could be a mint chocolate.
Maybe. I'm on a permanent holiday. I'm going outside to play. I ain't gonna slave away. Nor for corporate Babylon. I'm never gonna be a pawn in their manipulation game. I'm taking the reins, breaking the chains. I ain't gonna wait no way. Well, my prophet is heaven sent, no preacher or president are gonna leave it I and I astray. I'm taking Jah Highway home. Hey, I got one path to follow.
Don't know if you'll understand. I've got my own truth to swallow. So I say I'm on a permanent holiday. I'm going outside to play. I ain't gonna slave away for no corporate Babylon. I'm never gonna be a pawn in their manipulation game. I'm taking the reins, breaking the chains. I ain't gonna slave no way. My prophet is heaven sent. No preacher or president is ever gonna change. I and I lead, I and I astray. Hey, hey, hey. Come on. On a permanent holiday, I'm going outside to play. I ain't gonna slave away. Oh no. Well, you know I would if I could throw my back on my guitar on my back and I pick up the slack and I'd leave here tomorrow. But the tat 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 upon the Babylon, I got to face the facts, embrace the axe, cut these chains of my sorrow. Yeah. I'm on a permanent holiday. I'm going outside to play. I ain't gonna slave away for no corporate Babylon. I never wanna be a pawn in their manipulation games. 10,000 years of captivity. We must eventually open up our eyes and see that they're manipulating we with so much uncertainty, so many mysteries. Why are so few questioning the unnatural state of things? It's a nightmare we're living in, a nightmare we're living. Everyone's scared. Hey, and they're virtually unaware of this fear rules their lives and occupies and controls their minds. This fear of bankruptcy, financial illiteracy, and it's all money, 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 money machine. It's all digital currency. It's all this monopoly money. Hey, living in the world that's monopoly money. And it seems like we'll be stuck in this prison for life. 'Cause if we keep on buying, then they'll keep on selling their lies. Oh, and I will be manipulated, mind controlled, intimidated. I will seek the revelation, make my life a celebration. I will change, I'm seeking, manifest the words I'm speaking. I refuse to be in prison. I will make my own decision. I'm on a permanent holiday. I'm going outside to play. I ain't gonna slave no way for no corporate Babylon. I never wanna be a pawn in their manipulation game. I won't be manipulated, mind control, inundated. I will seek the revelation, make my life a celebration. I will be the change I'm seeking. I will manifest the words that I'm speaking. Hey, I won't be in prison. People, I want to make my own decision. On a permanent holiday, going outside to play. I ain't gonna slave away. All right.
If you guys aren't subscribed to Steve's channel, I pinned it at the top because he does live music on his channel.
I do.
At least a couple of times a week.
It's weird having a looper on my left foot.
Your left foot.
On my left toes.
Uh-oh.
My left toes is not as ninja as my right toes.
Oh.
We must train. We train longer.
You have to train your toes?
Yeah. We got here. Ice delay. I don't know about that shit. Phaser. Okay. What's that sound? Woo!
So what?
Kind of a lot.
It's a lot?
Yeah, let's get mixed up. That's with the delay. I just realized it does different things. Wow. Cool. Like you can change within each one of those things is like 90 different ways to change it, and I just discovered a new one. Sweet.
Good night, Nikki.
Thank you all for hanging out, you guys. All right, let's see. What's a nice... Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Hey, don't wanna be treated this way. Going where the climate suits my clothes. Going where the climate suits my clothes. Going where the climate suits my clothes. Whoa. Don't wanna be treated this way. Well, I'm going where the water tastes like wine. Going where the water tastes like wine. Going where the water tastes like wine. Don't wanna be treated this way. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Don't wanna be treated this way. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ain't gonna be treated this way. Well, I'm going where the water tastes like wine. Going where the water tastes like wine.
Going where the water tastes like wine. Don't wanna be treated this way. Going where the ganja grows to my toe. Going where the ganja grows to my toe. Going where this ganja going through my toes. Don't wanna be treated this way. Going where the mushroom fields do grow. Going where those mushroom fields do grow. Going where the mushroom fields do grow. Oh, don't want to be treated this way. And I don't want to be treated this way. I said, I don't want to be treated this. Don't want to be treated this way. Don't want to be treated this way. Said, I don't want to be treated. I don't want you to be treated. I don't want you to be treating me this way. Hey, hey. I don't want to be treated. You don't want to be treated. Going down that road, lonesome road, be treated so bad. I hope everybody has a good night, has a good Saturday. All right. Thank you, everybody. If you'd like to help us continue to do this kind of sort of thing, please click one of the links in the description. And, you know, if you can. If you can't, send this to your mom. Send it to your mom's, you know, favorite yoga practitioner.
Or something.
Or cousin. Yeah. I was going to say yoga practitioner, but, you know.
It could be a cousin.
It could be a cousin that likes yoga. It could be a cousin that doesn't like yoga.
It could be a unicorn.
It could be a unicorn. Don't look so surprised, Mike.
Share it.
Mike is shocked. Shocked at the audacity. How could you say that? Ah. All right. Good night, everybody. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. And please go subscribe to Steve Cutler Live if you ain't already. And we'll see you.
Maybe that's what you need to start doing at the end of the show is take over and do a song out and make sure that.
Yeah, maybe we'll start doing that. We'll do a song thing at the end. Thank you all. We'll see you on Sunday.
Yes.
For Drew, Drizzle Stank, and then you got Lucky Burritos.
Yeah.
Afterwards, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Sunday. And, you know, who knows? I may pop up tomorrow night.
I'm at 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
I don't know what the hell is going on
9
anymore.
p.m. Thursdays and Sundays is
getting
when
too
you can
late.
find the Lucky Burrito live for sure. And then I do other streams when things come up.
That's
as
right.
well.
And don't forget the Demon Hour on Tuesdays.
And Lilith is there.
Lilith
if you guys
of the Demon Hour.
If you guys haven't checked out Lilith, you got to see how cute Lilith is.
She is the
You might be surprised. You might recognize Lilith's voice.
the darned cutest demon you've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, I know. And she eats organic only.
Only organic.
Only organic brains, guys.
That's right. So tune in on Tuesdays. We all love you, and thank you for watching. Thank you for helping us out, y'alls that do. We love you, and we love all y'alls anyway, no matter what. So please share this on your social mediums and
Jason, do you have the link to
and
where they
everything.
can find Lilith?
right. Where's the friggin' Jason links?
Come on, you guys.
That was your
gotta-
plug.
you
That
guys
was your.
gotta
I
go-
was plugging you.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we do a plug, you gotta have the link for the plug.
There's some guy named God there.
Yeah, the God.
There's all kinds of things. There's demons. There's gods. There's Satan. There's.
Oh, I gotta
it's
go watch
fantastic.
that back because, the way that oh, there it is. Yeah, there's
Nicely
that link.
done.
Can you put it up on the screen so people can find it that are on other platforms?
Bam! I can put it up there so people can see it outside of the parameters of the YouTube enclosure.
Yes,
Um,
because it's easy to find that.
Sky says she has to work tomorrow at 1 p.m. Okay. Got a text message. Sorry. Thank you all for watching. Go watch Jason's show on Tuesday. Watch Lucky's show at 9 o'clock, and watch Drew's show at 6 o'clock on Sundays. Okay, is that everything?
We'll probably do a show tomorrow or the next day or so.
Pretty likely. Okay.
Yeah.
We love yous. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Good night, everybody.
Adios. Wait a second. Let me play that little bit of music because that'll be a nice little. Everybody can just ease on. Right? Go check.
Okay, Steve.
Where's the thing?
I don't know.
I was trying to take it down. Relax. What are you getting so uptight about?
I thought this was supposed to be done.
It is. It's over.
Are you sure?
Are you still here? Is this still happening?
Yeah, it's still happening.
It's still going on right now?
Yes.
As we're speaking?
Steve.
What in the hell?
But Steve, come on.
Wait.
Oh my God.
All right. Good night, everybody. Peace out. Girl Scouts. Stop whining, Leo.